This is the Coffee Playdate podcast, and I am Dr. Olga Dengar, hospitalist, mom of 3 under 6, and a life coach for women physicians and professionals. On this podcast, I spotlight entrepreneurs and doctorpreneurs who are doing incredible things beyond traditional medicine. You'll hear the real-life stories behind their mindset shifts, the challenges they've overcome, and the practical advice that they share to support aspiring entrepreneurs on their own paths. Welcome to the Coffee Playdate podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Chrystene Nguyen. Welcome.
Hi, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. I always like to start off by asking my guests if they like coffee, and if so, how do they like their coffee?
Ooh, that's an easy one. I am a total coffee lover. So I used to say a little, I used to say a little creamer for my coffee, but now it's actually like the opposite. I totally love flavored coffee. You name it, hazelnut, toffee nut, even lavender. So yeah, so my lattes. Flavored lattes are my go-to drink for sure. I got influenced by one of the physicians in this coffee brand, and it's all in one. It's called Strong Coffee, and it has like a mix of like coconut creamer and your nootropics and everything all in one. And so it's super convenient. All you have to do is pour water, and it's ready to go, and tastes is wonderful. It doesn't give you the jitters.
I have to try it all in one. Okay. So, Chrystene, we're going to play a couple of games. The first one is a rapid fire questions game. I'm going to ask you to choose between one or the other answer, and you don't have to give explanation. Just go with your. There we go. First one.
Okay, sounds good.
If you had to do it all over alone without any help, would you rather build a dating or build a community?
Build a community for sure.
Next one, love or a prescription? Would you choose meaningful daily micro moments or occasional grand gestures?
Definitely many micro moments. I think those are much more special.
Yeah. Next question is, if you had to pick, would you pick 1 million users or 10,000 truly transformed lives?
Without a doubt, 10,000 truly transformed lives. So I think at the end of the day, that's what truly matters. Yeah.
And the last question for this game, perfect verification system or perfect user experience design?
Easy. Perfect user design.
For our next game, we're going to take a sip if our answers match. So make sure you have your cup ready. And the first question is, your ideal date, is it a cozy brunch or a late night movie?
I would say a cozy brunch.
Cozy brunch, me too. Cheers.
Cheers. Yay.
Next question. Would you rather have your partner bring you coffee on call nights or pick you up post-call with snacks and 0 questions?
Really both great options, but I'll go with the latter. Pick me up with some snacks.
I'm going to have to say bring me coffee on call nights. Next question. Would you rather have growth through social media and content or word of mouth success stories?
Definitely word of mouth success stories.
Me too. Cheers.
All right, we'll drink to that. Cheers.
And last question, do you like strawberry or chocolate ice cream?
I'm going to go for chocolate.
Chocolate, me too. Cheers to that. Perfect. So Chrystene, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, certainly. I'm a family and lifestyle medicine physician. I'm based in Southern California, and I previously worked in primary care, but I'm currently in urgent care and telemedicine right now. During COVID, unexpectedly, I started a Facebook group called White Coat Romance. And from there, it expanded and grew into the White Coat Romance app, which is free and on the App Store and Google Play. And then more recently, I started the White Coat Mingle. It's a sister platform. And the difference being that White Coat Romance is for single healthcare professionals and students, and there's trusted circle of friends. And White Coat Mingle is for social and professional networking that is beyond dating.
That is amazing. I don't know how you have all this time to do such creative projects and work on those things, but I'd love to know what sparked the idea behind White Coat Romance in the very beginning.
Certainly it was really born out of a need, during COVID. There was so much loss and tragedy, and, there's so much uncertainty, and the whole world felt like it was turned upside down literally like overnight. Because at that time, I completely isolated myself from family and close friends, like working in urgent care, having this high risk for COVID exposure. And then from there, it sort of kind of grew. And I think it was sort of like this need that was among this community. And from there, as you learn from your community and you get more ideas, and it expanded, and so many people wanted me to be like a matchmaker. Oh, I didn't want to be one. And I was like, all right, I'll just start an app. And then, and then that took off from there. And so that's how the journey started. And Essentially, I feel like I'm like this accidental entrepreneur.
You're an incredible matchmaker, Christine. You have definitely helped transform a lot of people's lives. I mean, connecting them through your platform and helping them find each other. What do you think are some of the barriers that physicians have when it comes to dating on an app?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, it's really tricky. First of all, it's our time. We're just so busy. We have very limited time, and we certainly, of course, can't date our patients. And when you try and go out and meet people, it's really tough because there's a lot of like scammers and fake professionals out there, and you feel like you could easily be targeted. And so, when I talk to a lot of like physician friends, it's always like, what did what job title did you put on there, And even mine was like vague. I work in healthcare. Or others have said I work in medicine. And very few people would like really actually put their title out there. And then, you can go out and meet people in the wild, and it's hit or miss. And I think a lot of us are pretty open, but really it would make our lives a lot easier. And when it comes to who we're looking for in alignment with our lifestyle, and also our goals and our aspirations, would be nice to have a curated space where you could meet other professionals that they're like-minded professionals. And so I think that I've noticed that tends to be the interest among a lot of our physicians and healthcare professionals that I've talked to.
Yeah, definitely. It's really hard to meet people organically nowadays, I feel, unless you have more time. Like you said, that's one of the barriers. And physicians are very busy. We have a lot of hours that we put in, not just at work, but also charting and things that come up afterwards. So it's important to still stay connected. What do you think is important about creating this type of community? Do you think relationships and connection are or should be a priority for physicians?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think this is something that I mentioned earlier. It's a silent epidemic that hasn't been talked about. It's this epidemic of loneliness and chronic loneliness. Research has shown that it's actually comparable to smoking about 15 cigarettes a day, and that's quite staggering when I learned about that. And so it's such a big part of our health. We tend to focus on mostly physical health, but we forget that this huge aspect of connection, community and social connection. It really is not like just a nice to have, but it really is essential to our health and our well-being. And
Absolutely.
if we need that, especially being physicians, being healthcare professionals, it starts with us, right? The analogy about putting on the oxygen mask on you first before you help other people. And it starts with us. And if we have that community, we have that social connection, and we have those like supportive relationships in our lives, then I think we would be even better physicians. And so it starts with taking care of us.
Yeah, we definitely have to always remember to take care of ourselves. Sometimes they say physicians are the worst patients. It's hard
You
to
totally say
remember
that.
to eat healthy, exercise, have good relationships, have that support network in your life. I definitely believe that. It's very true.
Yeah, and I feel like it's really time to, stop putting ourselves in the back burner. We take care of so many people around us. We take care of our patients, we take care of our family, and we're last. And by then we're like depleted. It's really, we're so overdue to change this narrative. And I want to be part of this conversation and part of the solution to help physicians connect and um, being a community builder and helping physicians and other healthcare professionals like be part of these intentional communities that are truly supportive.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job for sure.
You're very kind. Thank you.
So I wanted to ask, going from the White Coat romance, how did White Coat Mingle come about?
Yeah, so, it's been a good number of years. I started White Coat Romance, the Facebook group, in July of 2020, and then the White Coat Romance app came a few years later. And then what happens over time is that, a lot of the community members have moved on. They've either found partners, they've gotten married, and we actually have some success stories. We've got like 4 marriages from White Coat Romance itself. And I would be like, "Hey," I kinda nudge them, "It's kinda time to go." And they don't wanna leave, and it wasn't that they were, wanting to be part of the community because they were looking for someone else. It could be simply like, "Hey, do you have any recommendations for this particular physician? Do it could be a healthcare related question, it could be a non-healthcare recommendation. It could be just like, getting together and having a travel buddy, um, getting together and going for a hike or going for a happy hour. And, um, and so I was like, "Hey," and that was just the one rule is that, you remain the community if you're single. But beyond that, they're like, "Well, Christine, can you create something for us?" And I've had a lot of friends, even the ones that weren't even part of White Coat Romance to begin with. And so that's how White Coat Mingle came about. And I started it initially as just like in-person networking events, and I hosted a number of them. And I'm now been on this path to create an app so that our greater community beyond the local community that I was planning events for could be part of this community. And my whole goal with White Coat Mingle is to be able to help the healthcare community and beyond connect in a way that's, easier, faster, and really the emphasis would be on real time connections. So I think that was a piece that I really wanted to focus on, especially like no longer being part of the COVID quarantine, that we all really, really do crave that real time connections, even if it's virtual, but ideally a lot of like in person events. And we all know how magical and amazing it is, right? And being at these events. The other thing I heard was that would really surprise me, especially among my friends who are partnered and married, was, they're like, do you know how hard it is to make friends? Especially if you work outpatient, it's really, really hard to like make new friends. And I've had this discussion with a number of my married friends. And so I think that was the other major why behind White Coat Mingle, having this like sister platform.
I'm going to change gears a little bit here. I want to ask about any type of mindset shifts that you had as you were building these communities. Can you tell me about one?
Gosh, there's been so many. But I think right now, the one that really resonates with me is basically the mindset that to focus less on the outcome and more on the journey. So when I started, I was very much focused about getting to that specific destination, right? It was if I build this, when this works, when I get there, over time, I realized this mindset was really taking away from the experience. This journey so far has really, in quotes, forced me to grow in so many ways, way beyond that I ever expected. And it wasn't always comfortable, for sure. Like, for example, just getting more comfortable being on the camera. Like, I did my first pitch fest at PIMD Con. And so that was very, very nerve wracking. Learning how do you be on social media? How do you and so now, like, I have, 6 social media platforms and I work with my virtual assistant, learning about automations and learning about AI. And we all know how crazy that all is. And that's a continual learning process. And I think most important of all is all the incredible people that I've met along the way. Like you, right? Having this opportunity. I'm truly honored to be here with you. To connect. And that's just priceless. And I would have never had this opportunity. And it's taken my life on a whole nother path. And so I think I'm really all about um trying to trying to embrace the journey and all the ups and downs. And I certainly won't sugarcoat it. There's been a lot of um downs as well as the ups, but I've gotten so much out of it already. And so I really working on appreciating the growth and the skills and the evolution from the journey itself and not just from some future outcome. And certainly it's a work in progress without a doubt. But that's sort of where, the biggest mindset shift that I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah, it's all about the journey, not so much about the destination. That definitely resonates with me too. Amazing. Now, you mentioned there could have been some challenges along the way. Is there a specific challenge that you can think of, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of it is really mindset, kind of related to your last question, and a lot of it is just really internal. If you focus on, solving the real human problem and not focus on the business model and making those real human connections, over time, that progress will lead to, the clarity. And then the clarity and the progress will lead to the action and through the action that all that will unfold and lead you to have the conversations and have the connections and having the collaborations and being part of other teams and bringing more people who have the skill set who don't have the skill set that I do. And that's sort of what unfolded over time. Having that belief in yourself, is really also a big part of this. We certainly as physicians, we are trained problem solvers. So that ability is within us. So we just have to be more patient about it. And it's certainly tough, right? Because as physicians, like a big part of our training is the acting, right? It's the doing, it's the certainty. But as entrepreneurs and when you're building something, it can be very uncomfortable. And so I say embrace the uncertainty. And really, if you focus on the why and let that be your North Star, your path will unfold over time and the how will become more clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like once you know your why, all of the other things, like how you get to do this app, how do you get to build it, everything comes together. It's kind of like this energy that you're bringing forward, and the steps actually end up manifesting themselves. So when you're attracting that energy, you're able to know what the next step is for sure. This is how we build momentum. And what is one piece of advice that you would give someone who's starting out in a similar space?
Yeah, I would say, I think, we hear this a lot, but it definitely rings true, is really just get started. No matter how small, one little step will lead you to the next step and the next step. And it's so easy. And I was definitely stuck in it. And I still get stuck in it in times. And I have to remind myself it's the analysis paralysis that we often hear about. And it's so easy to just like, oh, I'm going to research this some more. I'm going to read this some more. I'm going to look at this, I'm gonna, XYZ. But really, it's when you get started that that would be really the way to go because you gain a lot and you learn a lot in that process of that doing. And as I mentioned earlier, to really talk to your community, the people that you serve, and that really helps reinforce like what you're doing, what you're trying to build, and also just to get feedback, right? Of going on the right path. I think it's so easy, when you build something, when you create something that you think that this is what is needed, is what people want. And from there, I say just get started and that will lead you. And a lot of those whys, sometimes you may or may not know it up front, will start to like unravel and reveal itself. Like you really don't need to see the whole path and it may just be that next step and you will get there. Is sort of my biggest thing. And I'm gonna add one more plug to this is don't underestimate the power of networking. Networking is powerful, as you and I both know, right? It could be one conversation, it could be one connection, it could be one introduction, and that can really completely change the trajectory of the path that you're on and what you're trying to achieve and the real human problem that you're trying to solve, the
Yes.
impact that you want to make.
Amazing. Is there one book recommendation that you have for our listeners today?
Gosh, there's so many books, but the one that I'm going to mention today is called X is Easier Than 2X by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. This book is really amazing in that it's really focused on, it almost seems like counterintuitive. The recommendation is to do less. So we're subtracting rather than adding. And by doing less, you actually get more from it and so the idea is to strip away from things that no longer serve you and to focus on what truly matters. And it almost gives you permission to simplify rather than to keep on hustling and hustling and hustling. I think it also all ties back into some of the things I mentioned earlier about your why. If you haven't read it before, or you may have, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it. So Benjamin
Yeah.
Hardy, and he also has another new book coming out that is in my Audible that I can't wait to read.
Yeah, I love Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. They're amazing authors together, and 10x is bigger than 2x. It's one of my favorite books as well. It really
Oh, that's
helps
wonderful. I'm glad to
see
hear.
the picture and not just be focusing on the tiny daily tasks that you have to do, but just think about why you want to do it. What's your vision? What's your mission? And how can you get there a lot faster? Well, thank you so much, Christine. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast today. I hope to have you on a future episode.
Thank you so much. That was so much fun. I'm truly honored that you invited me to be here, and I look forward to seeing you again in person sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Coffee Plated podcast. This episode is designed to help you stay driven, aligned, build momentum, and take action on your entrepreneurial journey. That's my Dhamma method in motion. If you enjoyed this conversation, hit subscribe and share it with one other person who you think would benefit from it. And when you're ready to live life on your own terms, book a discovery call at coacholgamd.com to see if one-on-one coaching with my Dhamma method is your next move.